Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, having a good week. It's another Thursday, or again, whenever you listen to the show. And I do have to say, I appreciate everybody listening to the show. Thank you for taking the time to follow along, ask questions, listen, watch, whatever you do. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for all the follow along on Instagram, all that. Did a great Q&A yesterday as well. So again, just appreciate you guys. So thank you very much. Before we get into today's show, I want to let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist and the new TSR Woods. The hours have been put in, the work has been done. As the moment approaches, you either fear it or you feel it. For Titleist, it's the moment filled with pure anticipation, the culmination of a relentless pursuit of speed in every form. So step up and settle in with confidence. Titleist TSR is here. The new TSR drivers take everything that made TSI the number one driver on tour and pack even more performance into every head. From new face technologies to CG improvements to aerodynamic refinements, when everything moves the needle, you're playing at Titleist speed. So go to Titleist.com to learn more about TSR metals and to schedule your fitting today. Titleist TSR, find your faster. So again, just want to say thank you again for all the people that follow along, all you guys. It's been a pretty amazing year, and it's humbling to think that people take time out of their day to listen to me ramble on about golf clubs. But it's fun, man. I mean, it's one of those that not all of us have thousands of friends or tons of friends who want to talk about, the intricate details of golf equipment. So we have each other, and that's always pretty fun. So I know my wife has put up with it for like 12 years, and I know if she could, she would probably shut me up at the first chance she got. But it's awesome. So thank you guys very much. Today's show, going to be a little different. I mean, we're running into weather issues, stuff like that, for me to get out there with a lot of different clubs and stuff like that. So today I'm going to get into talk about some new Mizuno golf balls, and then kind of dive into a couple questions from IG, from my Instagram Q&A that I did yesterday, and just kind of talk about some of those answers. Maybe get a little further into some of those answers, because you literally only have 60 seconds or whatever it is. So maybe we'll jump into a few of those and answer them a little further and a little deeper. But it's been a good week. Been busy. End of the year is always busy. Trying to figure out product launch season going on. Trying to get ready for next year, 2023. Trying to figure stuff out. Getting ready for planning stuff for PGA show. All that. There's just a lot going on. So I will be at the PGA show this year. I don't know if I mentioned that last show. I think I did. But going back, it'll be my first time in 2 years. I haven't been back since 2019. So, or is it 2019? Yeah, because 20 was over. 21. I don't know. Maybe I went on. Did I go in? Yeah, I went 19. Got canceled in 20. 21 was interesting. Well, so maybe it's been 3 years since I've been there. Man, I felt like it was only two. So maybe I went in 20. But either way, it was yeah. I think I went in 19, or yeah, and because my daughter was born in 19, so I went in 19. So I think I actually went in 20 at the beginning of 20, and went then. So I didn't go 21, 22. So yeah. So I haven't been there a few years. I'm sorry that I had to ramble on and figure that out in my head with you guys here, but went to the show. Haven't been back. It'll be interesting to see. I saw some photos from it last year. We have sent a few guys down. And it was pretty. At least the demo day was pretty scarce. What was out there in terms of on the large range. So we'll see what goes on this year. So if you do see me walking around, come up, say hi. I'll try to carry around some Club Junkie stickers to hand out. If you do see me, I'll try to bring a few and hand them out. But yeah, please, if you see me walking around, the bearded chubby guy, the short chubby guy walking around with maybe something Golf WRX on or whatever, let me know. And it'll be fun meeting some people. So if you're going, if not, we'll be taking a bunch of pictures. Me and another guy here at WRX going down. We'll take tons of pictures of everything we can see. Maybe do some video, talk to some people, interview some people, whatever, and we'll make the best of it. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to go back. I'm excited to see some people that I haven't seen in a few years. There's always people that you go down and see that you either just email with or talk on the phone with or whatever, but you don't actually get to see in person. So it'll be fun to go down, see everybody, and kind of do it again. So flying in Monday night, Monday afternoon, and then I'll be out of there first thing Friday. I'm gone super early, so we'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and doing the whole demo. They're doing the whole PGA show thing. So back at it. It'll be exciting. So going there, and then who knows? I unfortunately. I thought I was going to be gone next week out in Carlsbad to do some stuff. That's not happening. At least I'm not going. Tursky's going to be out there, so he'll be covering a lot of stuff that was going out there with some new products. I will not. I'll be stuck in the cold of Michigan, and then I don't think I'm going anywhere till next year. Maybe something beginning of January might go on, and then PGA show. So I'm gonna be stuck in the cold for at least another month. Which is a bummer, but hopefully we'll get out there and bring some clubs and hit some balls and play some golf. Outside of Michigan here, it might be nice next week, so I might get a chance to go out and play next week because I called the golf course to yet again see about my keys, and Keygate, they're still lost. They're gone. So, but next week, actually, no, I'm looking at the thing now. No, it's not even close. It's going to be like 40 degrees. So, anyway, not going to be great next week either, looking at the temperature. But I did play when I played last week or 2 weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving. I did play with the brand new Mizuno RB Tour and RB Tour X golf balls. So, brand new ball from Mizuno out this year. And two models, kind of like most companies with the Tour ball. They make one that's kind of a little higher spin, one that's a little lower spin, and depending on what your preferences or needs are, they've got a ball for everybody in a sense. So went out, took both balls out. I played 18. I was playing a bunch of shots and whatever, so I went through switching between both balls, and yeah, they're both pretty nice. I do have to say I was impressed with them more than I thought I would be. I don't think with Mizuno you kind of know they're an iron company, wedge company, even putters now, woods. You don't really think about golf balls, and I think they just brought golf balls back to market. Like in 2020 or something like that. I think the last PGA show was like one of the first balls that they brought back. At least that was really promoted and big. So I didn't play any of those. I think I don't know if I hit any of them. But sent in some, Mizuno sent in some RB Tours and Tour X's. So I was like, let's go and try them and see. And like I said, I didn't really have crazy high hopes, but I was like, let's just go see how they play. So went out and first started out with the RB Tour, which is both balls are 3-piece balls, both urethane covers. So Tour balls, urethane covers. They tend to spin well and tend to have really good feel to them. The urethane is basically if you have a Tour ball, it's a urethane ball. They grip the best. They have the best spin to them, and it is a more expensive material from what I'm told. Everybody who out there makes balls, they always say urethane is not cheap. So urethane ball, but the RB Tour is a little kind of the Pro V1 version. It's going to be the lower flying, lower spinning ball compared to the RB Tour X. So like I said, very similar in terms of that kind of setup. With the RB Tour, again, 3-piece ball, urethane cover, and then it's got a high-speed mantle layer and a high-energy core, and then they've designed this new axial flow dimple design, which I know that some of their other balls, like they have a little cheaper ball called like the RB like 566, that has kind of like a weird little tiny dimples and dimples and stuff like that. This does not have that. It's got a much more traditional look to it. But their axial dimples is what a big thing about the performance and the aerodynamics of the ball. But yeah, like I said, this one there, flying flatter and having a little lower spin is what this one's all about. They're pretty simple. It's nice. It's got kind of got that I think they call it like this, the little Roadrunner logo on the side with a black black number on it, and then on the side just RB Tour with a small little hash marks that you can use as kind of an alignment aid. The gloss on it's pretty good. I do like balls that have a little shinier gloss to them. For whatever reason, to me, it makes it feel like a nicer ball. No real seam to be seen, really. I mean, the seam is pretty much, if it's there, it's hidden pretty well. And then it's got, a bunch of dimples all over it that are a bunch of different sizes and all that. for a lot of balls, especially some of the direct-to-consumer stuff and even some of the OEM stuff, the logos on the balls get really, really huge. And to me, I don't really love the look of that, but this one here, I think, is a pretty good size. Doesn't get crazy out of hand, pretty small and pretty simple overall. So I do give Mizuno kudos on that. And like I said, I like the high gloss kind of finish of it. It just, I don't know, gives me a little feeling that the $50 price is justified or whatever. But this one here, like I said, a little more, little flatter flying, and this one here also, to me, felt just a little bit softer than the RBX. So again, very similar to the way Titleist sets up theirs. Distance on these was really, really good. They went a long way. Driver wise, definitely flew a little bit flatter. Didn't notice it so much with the irons that it going, the window being different. But with the woods, everything off the tee, this thing did fly just a little bit flatter for me. Out of there, it definitely has to be low spin. And the reason I say it has to be low spin, I mean, I wasn't hitting on the launch monitor or anything like that, but I did find that the RBX, the Tour X was a little longer for me, and I don't think it's necessarily just because of the height. I feel like that thing had maybe a little bit more spin and kind of hung in the air a little bit better. This, when it was flat, it did kind of feel like it fell out of the sky a little quick, and I think it maybe just didn't have enough spin for my game. I know when I was getting fit for driver and even 3-wood, we were trying to add a little bit of spin to my clubs. So I'm not a guy who, at my ball speeds, which are drastically lower than I used to be, but those 150 number right around there, I don't need to get crazy low with spin, and I think this ball here just spun a little bit less. But around the green, it was really good. It had a pretty controlled amount of release. If you're playing it off a fairway type lie, the ball would basically, for me, just hit and maybe one hop and stop. Maybe just release a touch more than that, maybe 2 hops and be done. But it was pretty controlled, especially if you hit it fairly solid. Out of the rough and things like that, it did have a little more release to it. A little more release than I expected, but still controlled and consistent. It didn't, you didn't have shots where you hit one and it rolled out, 4 feet, and you hit the next one, it rolls out 20 feet, like nothing like that. But it did roll out a little further. I felt like the X ball checked up just a little harder for me around the green, but this thing, going into the green was pretty good. It's supposed to, fly a little flatter with the wedges. Again, I didn't notice a big change in window for my wedges between this ball and the X. I thought it was still, easy to get up in the air. Still got up quick, had a pretty quick or pretty steep descent angle, and when it hit the green, it spun well and pretty much stopped, where you thought it would. Putting with it felt really good. It was definitely the softer of the two. They're pretty close though. I feel like when you get into Pro V1, the Pro V1, Pro V1X, when you're putting, chipping, you kind of notice immediately that sound and feel difference. This one here, I didn't really notice a sound difference at all outdoors. Especially with putter and things like that. Little pitch shots, short shots like that. Didn't really notice a change in audible noise at all. This thing here was pretty soft. I'd say it's a little firmer than a Pro V1. I would say it's kind of in between Pro V1, Pro V1X. It's not quite as soft to me off those clubs as say a Pro V1, but it still does have a good solid feel to it when you putt. You get just a slight audible click out of it. Nothing too grand or too loud. But overall, like I said, really a more penetrating ball flight than I expected, and a little, probably lower spin than I expected off the driver. But it held up well with the irons. I mean, irons, I was still able to launch it high. It landed soft, and as long as you're in the fairway, the ball's going to stop. Out of the rough, like anything, it's going to take some of that spin off, and you do get a little release out of it. But the short game area was solid, and if you're looking for lower spin ball, I think the RB Tour is definitely one that is worth looking at. But it was overall a really good ball. Like I said, I think partial wedge shots, especially stuff that you were hitting down on the ball and really trying to get it to fire in there and check. It was easy to do that with. This ball here definitely was a little straighter. Again, I think just goes back to lower spin. But this one here definitely was a little straighter, not as much curvature, especially with driver, 3-wood, and even 7-wood off the tee, things like that. Definitely a little straighter ball. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty nice tour golf ball. I think, like I said, for this one here, if you're looking for something really low spin, something with a little flatter ball flight, but you don't want to give up a ton of greenside control, I think this RB Tour is worth looking at. Like in terms of price, I haven't looked online to see what the price is in these, but if they're something where you're looking at a ball that you just want to try something different or try something new, or your pro shop has a great price on these or whatever, I think they're definitely worth trying out. I think Mizuno did a good job with these things. The RB Tour, like I said, it definitely has that high spin player is gonna probably enjoy playing these and trying these and hitting probably better shots at the top end of the bag. Like I said, for me, I didn't notice a ton at the low end in terms of the short irons, wedges. With those more full shots, I didn't see the window change a whole lot. They still got up in the air pretty quick. And then those partial shots that you kind of meant to hit low did exactly that, and kind of that little kind of couple skips and a stop. They performed really well in that category. Wear on it was pretty darn good. They held up pretty well. I should have grabbed a couple out of my bag, but pretty much for me, I kept it in play for the most part. I didn't really hit anything off cart paths, didn't hit in too many trees, and other than being a little bit dirty, they held up really well. Didn't really have any high scuffs or wear marks or anything like that through over 18 holes with a ball from each. Didn't lose any, which is nice. So I still have all 12 here, but didn't knock it off car pad, didn't knock it off a tree. So I can't really say the extreme durability in those cases are. But from just normal play with wedge play, driver play, all that, it definitely held up just fine. So, and I was hitting some thin shots. So in terms of blading it, never cut one, never really scuffed it that hard. It held up well. I think a ball per 18 holes. If you're playing a course where you're not going to lose balls, it should hold up with no problem. As long as you're not playing like old non-conforming wedges that might shred the ball, but they should hold up pretty well. But yeah, the RB Tour was really, really solid there. And then the RB Tour X, which again, like I said, kind of more of the Pro V1X style, a little higher launching and a little slightly higher spin, especially with the long game. And this one here comes in the black and blue box instead of the white and blue box, and then you get the blue logo on. So that's if you're watching this on YouTube, the RB Tour X box, which is like I said, black and blue, and then you get the ball with the little blue number over the Roadrunner there. So again, pretty simple, blue number over their little Roadrunner, and then again on the side you get the RB Tour X little logo with two little hash marks. So very similar balls, very simple. Again, I love the size of the logo. I think they did a good size without making it too big, but still recognizable. It was still pretty easy for, if you have a playing partner or something, looking for your ball, and you say, hey, I'm playing a Mizuno, they pretty much were able to find it pretty quickly and kind of easily say, yes, that's a Mizuno ball, and let you know that you're over on the left side or right side, wherever you may have missed it. But this here, like I said, off the driver, definitely noticed a little higher window, and also not quite as flat of a ball flight. There was no ballooning, no rising like that, but hitting a little higher, and it just felt like it stayed in the air a little better for me. And again, having a little more spin in the long game, I think for me made this ball a little bit longer. And then coming into the green, for me, I think I spun this a little better. I think greenside control wise, I hit this into the green, the shorter wedge shot, stuff like that. I felt like this either checked up much, a little bit harder, or on some either like full like 9 irons, I got it to hit and kind of even spin back a touch, which was pretty interesting because the greens at St. Clair Shores were faster than we thought, but they were still pretty firm. So balls were a little difficult to check up, and this one, was very easy to kind of hit it into tighter spots, knowing that it was going to stop pretty quick and not release out. Out of the rough, again, I think this one sponged a little bit more for me than the RB Tour. I felt like shots out of the rough, this would kind of hit and check just a little bit faster. It still got release. I mean, it wasn't going to, hit and back up from a rough condition or a rough lie, but it was able to stop pretty quick off any type of fairway or tight lie, things like that. Overall, like I said, iron-wise, I didn't notice a big difference. But I felt like this thing, when I hit the green with this, was an automatic stop from just about any club. I mean, now granted, St. Clair Shores is very long, so I'm not hitting a whole lot of like 5 irons into greens or 6 irons or anything like that. Most of the stuff is kind of 7 iron and below. But everything there that I hit, I mean, was just, distance control really, really, it was really, really good. It hit and stopped almost instantly. So, with this in here, I like that about it. I thought, like I said, I thought for my game, this fit my game just a little bit better. Now, this one here does have a little bit firmer feel to it. Like I said, I didn't notice a click difference, but when that ball left the putter face, you could tell. I feel like if you blindfolded somebody and set these down, it would be tough blindfolded, but knowing and kind of looking for the differences in the balls, between going to the putting green and out on the course. The X definitely had just a little bit firmer feel, but I did like the fact that there wasn't this loud click or ting, with the firmer ball, because you move into some firmer balls when you get into these tour things, and I've had some that it's audible enough where you do hear it and it's almost distracting. I find when I'm putting, if it's a really firm ball and it makes a louder noise or a kind of a higher pitch noise, whatever, I tend to leave everything short because I don't want to hit it hard because I don't want to make the noise. So I tend to leave everything short. Never happened with this ball, but like I said, the biggest thing I noticed was those kind of shorter shots, non-full shots. You're hitting a sand wedge in there at 50% or something like that. That this ball just checked up, harder for me and had a little more stopping power. And again, like I said, coming out of the driver where it did launch higher, all those things, just like I play a majority of, kind of flop on the Pro V1, Pro V1X, but I typically play a lot of X. This one here, I would play the X and the RB Tour with no problem. Like I said, I just hit it a lot better, and out there hitting them side by side, the performance-wise, I was just noticing that this was just a little bit longer for me off the tee, and then coming into the greens, I could easily notice that this thing was stopping just a little bit faster. So those two things for me worked out really well. Again, three-piece ball. And the same thing, durability-wise, same cover, same 272 dimples on this one as the RB Tour. So with this one, same thing with durability. Really held up well. Like I said, got a little dirty. You lost a little bit of that gloss finish, after 18 holes, but it never was heavily scuffed or anything like that, and I thankfully didn't, abuse it too badly, but I would have no problem taking out the ball that I used for this round and playing it another time. And, there's a lot of balls out there that when you start hitting it into some funky spots or hitting trees and all that there's balls that don't last, more than a few holes, something like that, before they get pretty scuffed up, and I tend to ditch them after that. But this one here definitely didn't make a difference. And I know I've been through all the ball plants and all that, and they show how they test for scuffs, and a lot of scuffs don't change a whole lot of the flight or the performance of the ball. But I still toss them, or at least pitch them, or sometimes I give them to my playing partners because they're like, wait a minute, that's a high end ball. But no, the RB Tour X. I mean, if you're somebody looking for a little higher flight with a long iron or with the top end of the bag, drivers, 3-woods, whatever you're hitting off the tee, I think this definitely had a little higher window. And if you're somebody who needs just a little bit more spin or could use a little bit more spin, whether it's top end of the bag or the wedges. This one, like I said, I definitely noticed a difference in these in terms of hitting it into the green. So for me, like I said, I like the RB Tour X. Will I continue playing these come spring? For sure. I think they're definitely going to get another little run in the bag because they did perform really well. And granted, it was a little cooler there, so I wasn't hitting drives that were crazy long or anything like that. But it'll be interesting to see how these kind of compare as it gets a little warmer as well. But in the cold weather, they felt good. They didn't get super rock hard. You weren't feeling a ton of vibration, even with, chipping, putting, any of that. You even if you missed it a little low in the face, which I did frequently, you weren't rattling fillings out or anything like that. They really did, do a good job of staying pretty soft, pretty supple in really cold weather. But like I said, RB Tour X, I'm a big, between the two, I'm a big fan of this one. And like I said, just because it launched a little higher with the driver and the 3-wood, and I felt like into the greens, it checked up just a little bit harder for me. So if you go to MizunoGolf.com, go to their ball section, check out the RB Tour and RB Tour X. I think both balls are definitely worth trying out, especially if you're kind of in that flux of wanting to try something new, wanting to try a different ball, or if you're somebody who's looking for something either lower spinning or higher launching, whatever. I think either ball is definitely worth trying, and I think Mizuno did a good job with their tour golf balls. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of play these get out there next year from Ultimate Golf WRXers, stuff like that. If people are going to make switches or whatever, and the other thing too is how easy they are to find, because I don't go to golf stores a whole lot. But when you do, typically you walk into the area with the balls, and the first thing out there are the big names, the Pro V1s, the TP5s, the Chrome Softs, and all that. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where these get placement out there in those golf shops, to see if they're kind of readily accessible and easy to find, easy to buy, and as well what they cost, because I didn't look that part up to see what they do cost. Actually, I should do that right now. Let's take a look at if somebody has some of these listed on their website here. So I'm not going to go to Amazon, but geez, so we got Golf Monthly, Golf. Come on, man! Everybody's got all the media people. Come on, media people, get out of here. We're gonna see where. So golfballs.com has them. So let's see, they're usually pretty. So golfballs.com, back at 12. Actually, geez, they're only. Oh no, that's the last year. That's previous RB tour. But to say I'm like $34. I'm like, that's a great price. But that's the PGA Superstore. Here we go. That's the old one. Come on, I want the new one. Jeez, it's anyway. I know I'm just like kind of doing this while people are listening to a show, and it doesn't really work that great to. Yeah, they've got they just have the 566s and the old ones. So, so we'll see what these things cost when they come out. I don't know yet, but like I said, definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I was a big fan of the X, but like I said, if you go to MizunoGolf.com, see all the details and get a little more information on kind of what they did with the cover and all that. But it's a good ball. They did a nice job there, and I do have to say that I'm impressed with the ball, and I will continue to play with them until I find a way to lose the majority of them. So we'll see how that goes. But the Mizuno balls did a really, really solid job. So before we get into answering some questions from from IG, which like I said, I always appreciate people asking questions. But I want to definitely do that. But before I get into that, also let you know this show here brought to you by Superstroke. And listen, with the holidays fast approaching, there is no better way to show the golfer in your life how much you care than with a custom putter grip from Superstroke. Add an image, logo, or personalized message to any Superstroke putter grip and ensure that they will be thinking of you with every putt that drops. Visit superstrokeusa.com to order in time for Christmas delivery. So, go to Superstroke USA. You can customize their grips. I should, since I've started using that Pistol GT 1.0, I think maybe I need to make a couple Club Junkie ones or something like that and see how they look. I should upload my little logo and see if they look decent, because that'd be kind of cool to have a Club Junkie one. So maybe I'll look into that. After I'm done recording here today, maybe I'll jump over to Superstroke site and see what kind of cool thing I can look at. So, so what I do is if you don't follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod, it will be interesting to. I do every week. I try to do a Q&A session. So I go in there and make a story, say ask your questions, type in all your questions. I try to answer all of them if I can. Typically, I get through most of them. I may, I know they cut you off at a certain point. I don't know if it's like 50 or whatever the number is. I try to get through as many as I can with either time or amount, whatever. I try to get through as many as I can. But like I said, at Club Junkie Pod, you can ask questions. And instead of just typing, I pretty much for the most part try to answer them through video. Like I try to just record myself answering. I feel like you get a little more sense of what I'm saying with that, as opposed to just typing out an answer. And I try not to, even with the shaft questions, I try not to just say go get fit, because I understand that is the correct answer, but that's not what people really want. People want to hear what shaft that, what shaft reader we recommend. I mean, people want to go out and try stuff, so I try to keep it a little more, not PC in a way like that, or, you just say go get fit. So I try to answer stuff and give the best thing I can. So unfortunately I'm going to go through these in a way that I just don't know if I'm going to be able to look up. Maybe I can. I'm going to say I don't know if I can give people credit in a sense, but I can go through these in a way where I can give people credit, because I don't necessarily not want to do that. But it's but like I said, it's one of those things where Yeah, I get a lot of great questions, so we'll try to get through a few of them. So I'm going to start off with Mikey Tro 24. Asked, when getting new irons, is it safe to take your old specs and shafts with you? I think this is like, kind of twofold. I mean, in my thing, I told you, yes, of course, bring your specs, bring your irons if you can, and that way you have kind of a starting point for your next fit. I've also heard the opposite, where people go into it without their clubs because they want to see what they don't want to see just beat my irons. They want to see like what is the actual best. So I see both. I think having your specs though and knowing, going into it and saying, yes, here's what I played before. I found success with this. I play typically a 120 gram shaft, or being able to say, hey, here's the shaft, here's what I play, and it just gives kind of that first stepping stone of, okay, I play kind of a low launch shaft, and it's kind of lower spinning, and then these are the kind of heads I kind of play, and what length, lie, upright, whatever. It's a great starting point, especially with some of the specs of length and lie. Not trying to necessarily figure it out, but just kind of knowing, hey, I found a lot of success with. I play my irons 2 degrees upright and ½ inch long, or 1 up and 2 and ½ inch long, or a 1/4 inch long, or whatever. And then you can kind of start working into those specs and trying them and doing all that. So, I don't think you should purposely leave anything at home necessarily. I think bringing your irons or specs to the fit is a great idea. And then also, don't get hung up on. Well, I guess get hung up on what's important to you in terms of beating your old irons. Is it distance? Is it dispersion? Is it a different shot window? Is it a different shot shape? Is it a feel thing? Whatever. Like there's something that's going to make. There's a reason why you're going to that fit to get new irons. What is that, and why is that, and figuring out what that basically outcome needs to be for you to pull the trigger to buy this new set of irons. Is the best way to go about it. And like I said, if you pick out your parameters of, do I want to hit farther? Do I want to hit straighter? Do I want to hit whatever? Those are the things that you need to figure out what's important to you. Because if you go into it and just say, hey, I want to hit it farther, I mean, there's always, you can figure out an iron combo, whatever that hits it farther. But, to go into it and say, hey, I really want to, I kind of hit this big draw now, I'd like to straighten that out, and I'd like to hit it either like, a little higher, a little flatter, whatever. And if the distance ends up being the same, but you're hitting the shots that you want, the window that you want, and you have, kind of more consistency there, that still could be a win. So, like I said, is it worth bringing your old specs, old irons, into the fitting? I think it's absolutely worth it. Just don't get hung up strictly on one thing like distance, like, oh, it only went 2 yards farther. Well, that's fine. 2 yards is maybe not enough to pull the trigger on a set of $1,300 irons. But if they went 2 yards farther, they tightened up the draw from a 15-yard draw down to a 5-yard draw, and they changed the descent angle to make it a little steeper so the ball's going to stop faster on the green, whatever. There's other parameters there that you can look at and still find success and maybe still find value in those new irons. It isn't necessarily just how far did I hit them. So a good question there, and also too, relay what your thoughts and desires are to your fitter. Don't just sit there and not say anything, hit a bunch of balls, and then when the person hands you the fit, say, oh, well, that doesn't work for me or whatever. Be really open in the beginning and say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm hoping to find, and that way you and your fitter will kind of be on the same page and kind of go from there and figure out that best fit and what works for your game and what you're trying to get out of it. So like I said, a pretty good question there. One that I really liked, Justin VT Phi, Justin VT PHI Phi, Justin VT Phi. I'm gonna butcher all these. I probably shouldn't even have given them out, but whatever. If you could combine elements of different drivers, which one and why? So I think like if you could take all the specs from a bunch of different. Did this just cut out on me? No. Okay, I'm good. It just popped up like a weird thing that it wanted to use like my microphone for my phone to go into my computer. But anyway, if you could combine elements of different drivers, which one? So like if you could pick little pieces, kind of like when they put together like, the best receiver ever, you take this guy's legs, this guy's hands, this guy's mind, and, whatever. Which I think is pretty interesting because I think there's a lot of great drivers out there and you could basically pick one and be pretty satisfied. And my answer was pretty interesting. I think, and I think, everybody's going to think about this one differently. You're going to think about performance and looks and sounds, feels, whatever. And I'm basically eliminating shaft out of this as well, so I'm just going to go with just driver head. And for me, I think I'd go, basically the look from address, the shaping of the TSR2 from Titleist. I've been playing that end of the year. It's just super traditional. You get the super traditional look. The gloss black kind of feels classy. You don't see, even with the 10.5 head, you don't see like a wild amount of face. So everything about the shaping and all that I really like. It's a little more rounded than some other drivers out there, but I think overall the look is all Titleist TSR2. I think it does really well. And the other part too, this isn't like knocking any driver. Like if I say I'm this and this, it's not saying that other drivers are bad in these things or anything like that. It's just kind of what I thought of. So, but I go TSR2 look from address and cosmetic, super sleek, simple. I do that. I think I'd throw in there kind of the stability of the Cobra LTDX. I think that driver is just crazy stable on toe and heel mishits. It didn't get a ton of game time from me this year, but when I did hit it, it was an extremely forgiving driver, and it just, whether you hit it low heel, high toe, whatever, the ball stays on straighter lines than a lot of other drivers that do. There are other drivers, but overall, I think it's just a really stable, easy to hit head, and it just goes pretty straight. It's just really forgiving, and for the most part, I like that about that head too, is that it sits a little bit open as well, even in the standard position. But I'd take the stability of the Cobra LTDX. And I know people could say, like, well, you could take an old, G400 or something that's crazy stable and all that, and that's fine, but I didn't hit G400 max really that great either. I hit the LTDX much better. But I take stability LTDX, and then I think I'd take sound and feel of the Rogue Max LS, the Rogue ST Max LS. I love the fact that on that face, when you hit it, you can really feel the ball compress. You can really feel the ball kind of jump off the face and go. And then the sound and feel, I think, are really good. I think Callaway kind of nails sound and feel on those. They're muted, but they still have enough kind of sound where did you hit it on the toe, did you hit it on the heel? You get good feedback, good responsiveness from it. So I would take the sound and feel from the Rogue ST Max LS. And then, when you look at, launch and spin, I'm going to go with, back to the Titleist TSR2, only because I got fit into that, and I hit it really well, and I hit it high. It spins spins enough for me, and it goes pretty straight. But I think if I could take kind of all those pieces and put it together, that would probably be a driver that works out really, really well for me. So, like I said, any one of those drivers is great by itself, but that, would be kind of what I go with. And if I could, I'd take a little bit of the adjustability out of the Stealth Plus. Give me a sliding track so I can slide a weight around, move it around, make me feel good about, sliding out to the toe or sliding into the heel, kind of changing that gear effect through the swing, as well as maybe a little bit of ball flight. But I'll do a little bit of that as well, so toss that into the sole, and I think that's a pretty good driver if you put all those pieces together. So, and then, let's see here. So, you can get into another one that's interesting that, again, I know that the answer to this question is typically go get fit and that's it. But, 7 Deadly Swings, said, hey, he's getting a ton of spin from a TSI 3 with a hazardous smoke yellow, and even though he's playing like a TX Flex, and, getting a ton of spin, new shaft, or lessons. Realistically, yes, should you probably go to somebody to figure something out, out of the gate? Probably. I'm not a big lesson guy. I don't go searching out lessons. I know I got a ton of swing flaws that I need to fix. Maybe this winter I'll get to like 1 or 2 of them, but getting into the shaft side of it, because it's pretty interesting. Everybody, shafts are different for everybody, and everybody's going to hit shafts differently. And just because, an OEM, says, like Project X says, yellow's a counterbalanced, low launch, low spin shaft, it doesn't mean it's going to play that way for everybody. For me, I found all the hazardous smoke yellows from the original one into smoke yellow. All of those, to me, they launch higher than black. They're like more mid-launch, low spin, counterbalanced. I haven't found them to be, low spin. I always found black to go a little bit lower. So it's an interesting little dynamic for me, because I look at that as more of a kind of a mid-low, mid-launching shaft. And when you get into like needing, and again having tons of spin, we don't know what that number is, but are they hitting down on the ball? Are they, hitting up on the ball? And I think I answered this unfortunately as thinking it was a 3-wood, but it wasn't. I think I was reading as like TSR2 plus, and it wasn't. So hopefully you listen to this, and but you get into like kind of this lower launching, lower spinning, and thankfully, if that shaft's performing for you like low launch and spin, I would say check out the Project X Hazardous Smoke Black RDX. It's such a long name, but a good shaft. But check out the Smoke Black RDX. That one there is, to me, a much lower launching, lower spinning shaft compared to yellow. Like I said, if the yellow's launching low for you, and that's what you still want to stay into, I think going to look at something like a Ventus Black would also be something worthwhile checking out. Those there, and then also if it is something where it is a little more mid launch, I think that Project X Hazardous Smoke Blue RDX adds a little bit of that counterbalance that you had with the yellow. To me, again, it was a little more mid-launch, and to me, I thought it came out a little flatter than yellow does. So like I said, Project X Hazardous Smoke Blue RDX probably is worth looking at. And then also, taking a look at the Fujikura Ventus TR Blue. That one there with that reinforced handle section, I think it's going to feel a little bit more like the Hazardous stuff. The original blue, while still being kind of mid-launch and low spin, I think just has a different feel with that softer handle section. So going to the blue, the TR Blue, I think gives a similar feel, probably some of that similar tightness, but it will, launch just to kind of that mid to mid-low, and should be pretty low spin as well. So all those there, I think are pretty worth it. Now the other thing you could do too, instead of if you want to go full lesson, maybe you can set up a time with a fitter just to jump in there and just hit a few balls on the launch monitor that they have, whether it's TrackMan, whether it's GC Quad, Flight Scope, whatever they've got, and just see kind of how you're delivering the ball. Are you hitting down on it? Are you hitting down on it? Are you coming from a different whatever it is? I mean, anything that's got club data will be able to tell you pretty quickly if it's club or if it's your swing. And if it's something where it is swing, then maybe you go the lesson route. And if it's something where, I'm delivering it pretty much the way I usually do, and it's just spinning more, then maybe you take a look at trying a couple new shafts. But I think a lot of players get into that. I've got a ton of spin in a certain club, and a lot of times probably the best answer is to you probably should go check something out and have somebody look at your swing. But I know not all of us are going to do that, and I'm one of them. So. Another one that I thought was really good, that I was kind of like, man, this is fun. The best driver and this is Joe Bob JRP, best driver from 7 to 8 years ago that could still hold its own today. And this was interesting because, this was right around the time that, or just before I started at WRX. So I was hitting a decent amount of stuff, but I wasn't hitting everything that I could get my hands on back then. I was doing a lot of Callaway demo days, so a lot of Callaway stuff, was in my bag. But I was, at the demos when me and the other guys were out there, I'd be hitting a lot of their stuff because it was, we'd be out there in the range. It might be slow. We'll, walk down to each other's tents. Somebody may have some cool shafts that the other guys don't have, whatever. And I was able to hit a few things back then. But I think from 7, 8 years ago, so you're talking like 2014, 2015, something like there. For me, I think the one that stands out the most, at least to me, was the XR. The Callaway XR series. They made an XR Pro and an XR, and there even was an XR Sub-Zero, XR Pro Sub-Zero if you really needed some low spin. But I think that driver having kind of three options, kind of a forgiving version, a pro version, and then a really low launch, low spin version. One, it gives you some options, in terms of what kind of swing you have and what you need. And the other side too, I thought it was the standard model was a great combination of, they were long, they were forgiving, and I played the 3-wood for I don't know how many years, but I think that XR, 16. Well, I guess 16 is only 6 years. Oh man, am I only 6 years out? Because XR is 16. No, the first XR, yeah, it was 16. So I'm right around that range. I'm close enough. I'm giving it close enough. But I think the XR would have been great. And then also, what I put on there. Oh, the Ping G30 was out right around that time as well. I think it was the G30 was out right around that time. And I remember the G30, a buddy of mine, actually, I think just got rid of it out of his bag, but it was that head there. I mean, I know there's an argument that some people they loved like the 25 and whatever. There was, some ones that people didn't agree with then, but I thought the 30 was a great driver. I remember hitting it down at my boy Kenny, the Ping, with his Ping truck. And that thing was just uber stable. It went pretty darn far, but it was just crazy forgiving, easy to hit. And, will the ball speed on either one of those, especially off center hits, hold up with the drivers today? Maybe not quite there, but if you can keep it in the center, I think they're pretty fast and they're willing to stay there. But I think if you need something kind of like G30-ish, that's super forgiving, super easy to hit, that's a great option. And then if you're somebody who's kind of high spin, high spin, high speed, that XR will give you a couple different options and heads to keep it in play. But I think those are really solid. And then if you do jump up to like 2016, which I think I might have been off by a little bit, like Tursky and I talked about on TG2 last week, the 2016 M2 from TaylorMade was just an absolute monster. That thing was a great driver. So those would also be pretty darn good if you're looking to either build like a little bit older retro bag or build a backup set for a little bit cheaper. I think those things would be be great. I'll do one more just because I didn't realize it was going so so long here, but I will, I guess do a single one here. So I guess the other one, which this is kind of an interesting one as well. So Jay Basil asks, currently gaming a Ventus Black 6S 6 stiff and driver. Recommendations for a Ventus in a 3-wood, and I think a lot of people right out of the gate automatically, think like, well, Ventus Black 6S is working in driver. That's what I got fit for. It's great. I should automatically put it in my 3-wood. And it isn't necessarily the case because, like this one here, it's hard to give an answer just because, you can give a couple different options. But when you swing a driver, you're typically hitting up on it by, 2, 4, whatever degrees. You're trying to hit it as far as possible. And, if you can turn it over and hit a draw, great. You get a little more distance, all that stuff. 3-wood, you hit it differently. I mean, you typically hit down on the ball a little bit more. You're trying to really either hit a gap or you're trying to really kind of produce a little different shot. You're not just trying to hit it as far as humanly possible like a driver. So launch conditions, all that, are going to be a little bit different. And same thing with, depending on the driver you're playing, it isn't going to necessarily match a 3-wood in terms of spin, launch, all that. So all those things kind of play into consideration. So will the driver shaft you got fit into work in a 3-wood? It can, but that isn't like set in stone. There's not like a reason that it's automatically going to work. So in this situation, I would say if Black 6XS works, maybe in the 3-wood of your choice or whatever, maybe try 7S. Try something a little bit heavier and try Ventus Black 7S and just see if that works. The other thing I think to go to, if you need a little more height on your 3-wood, if you're looking for a little more height, Ventus TR Blue, and in 7S tends to be, it'll kind of have that a little bit more of a black feel. The TR's got that stiffer, handle section, but it still has that mid launch. It's still pretty low spin. That could make a little difference in terms of getting that ball up in the air, letting it land a little softer into the green, or depending on what you're trying to do with a 3-wood. If it's a T only club, something like that, you could hit it a little higher, and maybe you hit a little bit more of a draw with that, where you fade driver, but. Like I said, driver to 3-wood, they don't necessarily just carry over. Like, it doesn't necessarily work that way. You kind of have to look at, one, what you're trying to accomplish, and two, how are you delivering the 3-wood, to the ball, because it's probably going to be a little bit different. So that one there, I think those are the answers I gave on that. But I think that's all I've got today. I know the show was a little kind of wishy-washy. I get it. But we're getting close to holiday, and I just, I need to get my hands on some more of this new stuff coming out. I know TaylorMade has the new irons. I don't have them in hand at the moment. I don't know if media samples, whatever, got mixed up, but I don't have them to hit at the moment, so I was not able to get those out in, like, the range or anything like that. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that soon. Hopefully, we get those irons. I'd love to hit the new, P7MB, MC, and the new 770. I was a huge 770 fan, the past 2 years. So to get my hands on those and to kind of compare them would be really, really awesome. So we'll see. Hopefully I do. And then, we'll see what other, launches, all that will be coming down the road. I'll hopefully be hitting more product. But again, if you like the show, whatever, if you tolerate it, if you like, subscribe, whatever, wherever you listen, that'd be awesome. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do the same. Anytime you kind of do that stuff, it helps the algorithm of us get bigger. And then anyway, hopefully you guys have a great week or a great weekend. Get out there. We're getting close to holiday. Make sure to start getting your shopping done, all that. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week.